our new item section.
Let's do it.
That's a great clip. The iDog. This only just was released. I don't think it's even released yet, honestly. This thing feels fantastic. It's got almost like a Discmania top on it. The way the shoulder comes right up here, it feels really nice and comfortable in the hand. It fills your palm really well. It reminds me of a T-Bird, but different. I'd have to try to identify. It actually kind of looks like a Valkyrie, but different. Great feeling plastic, as you can always expect from Castoplast.
What are the numbers?
7.5 minus half 2.
7.5 minus half 2.
So it kind of matches the T-Bird numbers, as you're only a half a decimal off there. This is a really exciting disc, the Glow Venoms. And let me tell you, Discraft doesn't have a good reputation for glow. This glows so freaking well. I mean, I don't think I've met a Discraft disc that glows as well as this stuff. And it's ESP glow. It's completely opaque. You can't really even see my hand through the light here. It's impressive how well this glows. I can't recommend that disc enough. I've never seen a full color also. I've never seen a full color disc on anything but a Buzz and a Zone. And check out the Luna. They did it on this Midnight Z plastic, which is just absolutely gorgeous. It's nice pearly, it's stiff. This feels like an amazing throwing Luna. I'm really curious as to how these things fly.
That's the same disc we always see our AB throwing.
AB absolutely yams those things.
And he throws that yellow one, which pretty sure everyone right now, that could go in the Disc Golf Hall of Fame.
It's a 450-foot point and click for that guy. It's like a total cheat code.
It'll be good to see him this winter. I can't wait.
He's had a great season, and we hope he's had a bit of a lull the last couple tournaments, but he'll come back.
This Player of the Year thing isn't over yet, folks.
Right. Gannon and AB will be a coin toss, I think.
Amen.
Supreme Burst Raptors. This is the first time they've done the Supreme plastic with a burst pattern. It's our boy Ricky there did these Raptor Felons, and they feel just like you'd expect a Supreme plastic disc to feel. Perfect. It's tacky, it's flat, it's got just enough give to it that you can trust that it'll get some ground play. Great disc. So let's move off of, because the rest of this has kind of been out for a while. We got the Captain's Thrasher, we got the Huck Lab Stags, they're cool, but I kind of wanted to move off and talk about this. This has been one of the most popular releases I've seen from Innova in a long time. The Rolo was a pretty popular release. This racer has really caught a lot of people's minds and games. It's really filled a lot of people's spot in the bag for being a glidey, headwind, reliable disc. It's got a really strange bead right here. Hopefully you can capture that. It's a really weird disc. You'd think the bead would cause a problem in your release or anything, but you don't feel it at all in your grip.
But yet it's affecting, maybe it's affecting the float of it?
But it will affect the flight. It's plenty glidey, but it's still overstable. So it will handle all the headwind. It'll handle a lot that you give onto it. I played with 3 guys on Monday League that were throwing racers. They were all throwing racers all around.
Really?
Because it was windy and reliably overstable for the forehand and for the backhand. Great release. Great job, Innova. Well done on this one.
Way to go, Innova.
Way to go, Innova.
I do love Innova.
And we have to give a shout out to this guy named Gannon.
Gannon?
Who can't stop winning. This guy is just...
All right. I'm going to have to get involved in this.
Okay.
So, I don't know if I'm in this right now, but I think Gannon needs a nickname.
Yeah.
And I think it should be the Freezer.
Now,
freezer. I don't know if it's good or not, but it's Buhr, so you got the Freezer.
He's got to have a cold theme to it.
But he's got ice in his veins.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we can all see that on Sunday, right? Well, I don't know. Is that going to work?
That looks good.
Okay. So anyway, Freezer, Gannon Buhr.
Give this guy something.
Right?
Give him something.
Freezer,
This Cloudbreaker's sick, but we got to give him more than that.
All right.
This glows impressively well. And the glow kind of bleeds into the purple here, so the whole disc actually ends up glowing. Cloudbreaker. They really haven't had a lot of Cloudbreakers since their main boy left, Eagle.
Can I just put a little critique on this?
Yeah, of course.
From a marketing perspective?
Zoom in. Try to stay out of the fan there.
Okay. Well, look. It has the eagle. Eagle's no longer there.
Yeah, it's a little awkward.
It needs the freezer.
We need something.
You need something different. You don't put the same product out with a different name on it, and it's a big deal. To me,
Yeah.
I think your marketing's got to be stronger than that.
Well, and Discmania is known as a marketing company. It's really strange to see them come out with weak marketing.
All right, so House of Discs.
Do better.
Yeah, do better. Pull it out of the ass there, and let's. You got the #1 player in the world right now. And
the most winningest player this season.
Yeah.
Well deserving of all your best.
And you're putting a cloud breaker, which was Eagles last year, with an eagle still on it. Okay, I'm not happy with that.
No.
I'm not
a lot of
happy
people
with
aren't.
They got to do better than that.
It's a sweet disc, but I agree. The eagle's a little weird.
And here is arguably the guy right on his heels more than anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, legitimately on his heels. He's placed second to him in the last 2 events.
Yeah,
so
the general.
yeah, this is a beautiful disc, honestly.
What's the number on the general?
They call it a 12404. But with this Supreme plastic, it's got a real good reputation as to holding up. Like once you beat it in, it kind of stays that beat in flight for a long time. So they beat in quick, but they mature very quickly is a better word to use for this.
We've seen that happen to Ricky on some of his throws.
Yeah.
I think some of those have stayed straighter than he planned on.
Yeah, and that was kind of like swirly wind situations. There was especially a lot of swirly wind at the last tournament, you know, up there. So, but the General is a really badass disc. This thing's awesome. It's glidey, it's stable, really trustworthy, especially early on. It's going to be pretty beefy.
You'd say it's glidier than a 4.
No, I'd give 4 probably accurate up until you start beating it in and start seeing a fuller flight out of it.
Right. 65-mile-an-hour arm?
Yeah, you can launch that thing. If you got 65 miles an hour, you're launching that.
Okay.
You're getting 4 to 450 if your ankles are good.
55 miles an hour?
55 miles an hour is a different story. You better
stay with the 9 speeds?
Yeah, I'd stick with the 9s, I think.
Couldn't agree more.
That's quite a meaty disc. Okay. Discraft has been outright impressive this year, not just for their players on the field, but for their disc releases overall. I could switch my whole bag over to these guys tomorrow, and I would feel so comfortable. This disc, this new TI plastic in the Venom, I don't think there's been a better feeling disc than this. It's really nice and tacky. It's got just enough flex to it. It's beautiful. Look at that swirl. Doesn't it look like ice cream? Yeah, let's get a profile of that. It kind of reminds me of the General, actually. It doesn't feel like a true 13 speed. It fits very, very comfortably in my hand. And I mean, again...
13503, so not quite the same numbers, but...
No, not quite, but similar, right?
It's our boy.
Yeah, that's our boy there. Those are the color shift Venoms. They have so much variety to this disc. Yeah. They've got a lot of different Venoms. You've got the Tour Series plastic. You've got the Glow. I mean, look at all these. There's 4 right there. Plus, you got the Z. Plus, they have a big Z out somewhere. I don't think I've seen those yet. That might have been a Ledgestone drop, but... Yeah,
Discraft has made a big push in 2024, I would say, over 2023.
They've done a great job at kind of getting back on their feet from the COVID era of having a hard time supplying disc stores like mine with plastic to having the full spectrum. I mean, I don't know if you could just want to show off. We've got 2 extra pieces of grid wall here that just have the DGA on it for now, but we're about to stock this wall with more Discraft because of how good of a job they're doing, how good the team is doing, how much they're supporting the community. I mean, these guys are absolutely killing it. So I'm really proud of them. I'm happy to see them make a comeback here.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. I think they did a great job right out of the gate early this year with these.
Yep, absolutely. This was the most special thing I've seen in injection molding. This is so freaking cool what they were able to do.
We talked about how companies were going to have to market themselves in a way with their existing product better. And I think Discraft with that mold did just that.
Yeah.
They did a great job with it.
It's so cool, the splatter. And I just want to shout out to an old timer, Michael Johansson. This is a guy that I grew up on. I loved watching this guy play. Him and Johnny McRae were my favorite players growing up into disc golf.
If you go into the woods, do you want to a better doubles partner than Johansson?
I don't know. I don't know if you could pick a better player.
Yeah, he's probably your number one choice, actually, even today.
I mean, he's still, I don't know if he competes so much in the young pro divisions, but you do see him quite a lot in those MP40, MP50s now.
Sure. Well, that looks good.
So we'll redo our intro here.
Welcome back.
Champions.
Welcome back, champions.
What's up, champions?
Episode 39.
I'm Jay. This is Damien.
To our friend in Kentucky who wrote us on the last episode that this was one of his favorite podcasts, we appreciate you.
We haven't done one since that comment, which is comedic in a way.
And now I feel bad that I don't have your name on the tip of my tongue. Everyone's talking about the health of the sport, and I think it's kind of important to get into this because even though we're all celebrating, Gannon's year and AB's year and Ricky's year, which are phenomenal, and you look at the modern day disc golf, I can't. The fact that guys are winning multiple events is incredible.
Yeah, I
mean that just shows you that's the cream rising aspect I brought up a second ago. But
Gannon's too good.
Gannon, for being 19 years of age, and his body is catching up.
Yeah, he'll fill out soon. He'll stay skinny, but he's about to get stouter.
Yeah, well, you can tell he is already.
Yeah,
and it's only gonna make him tougher to beat mentally, physically, because there's still some things in there, and he admitted to working on with getting mad at himself. And I always said he's like not his A game, but he's winning with his B game.
Right.
Because he's not happy.
That's
so
right.
I think he's working with. I don't have to beat up myself so much, because my bad day is still better than most guys' good day.
Yeah, 90% just about.
And it sometimes can come across as don't be that guy.
Sure.
Right. Don't be appreciative of your gifts, and he's using them well. So we're happy with him. Good to see Mom on the bag. Shout out to Mom.
Yep, way to go, Mom.
I don't know why the camera doesn't focus on Mom more than Gannon. Good job, Mom. Way to keep him honest about everything.
The straight and narrow. He's a good kid, and he's hanging out with a good crowd.
He's a great kid. He's an absolutely great kid.
Yeah.
And the group is a great group.
Great group.
So where was I going with this? I was going somewhere with the
cream rises to the top.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. Damn it.
I don't know.
Sidetracked with Gannon's mom. That's on me. All right. So this is the point of bringing up, especially Isaac, because he's in a contract year with a company that everyone's sort of questioning right now. And I think that's really important to talk about, because the health of a company is evident in a lot of ways. And you see it with, let's say Discraft is a great example, because they have their team is pretty stellar.
It's deeper. It's deeper than any team out there.
Everyone seems to be happy. Everyone's on contract. No one's disputing anything.
They're working hard.
I'm a big fan, as you know, of Innova and their philosophies and what I see in their business structure. I think they've done a great job as well. And then they picked up 2 players from Prodigy this year. So, which again, I think leads to
a really seamless transition.
Potentially them being the debt buyers of Prodigy, and maybe moving in as Prodigy's ownership. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens in any way, shape, or form, and you shouldn't be either. Someone's probably looking at that pretty hard, depending on because they have manufacturing. If they didn't have manufacturing, then no.
Well, yeah, they got injection molders. That's worth a lot of money.
It's bullet to the head. If you don't have manufacturing, it's your potential of getting a bullet to the head is very high in disc golf right now, because it's gone back to pre-COVID growth, and it's still growth. And that's what everyone needs to wrap their head around, is that it's still growth. It's just not 300% growth. It's back to reality. And a lot of the people that found the game during COVID they still like the game.
People are still playing.
That hasn't gone away. And there's more of us, and it's globally gotten bigger.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have to worry about disc golf's health, because you might see some things coming in the next couple of months at the end of the year, which I honestly think we all need to prepare ourselves for a little bit, is that there's going to be a title shift in some of the companies that we've maybe seen for a while that might go away.
Well, look, anybody that's been part of the sport has been dealing with these growing pains.
Yeah, for sure.
The community growing, the disc manufacturers, and it's only going to continue because the sport is still young.
Right.
We've still got a long way to go.
Right. But I think if you're not manufacturing the product, and even if you are, because if you look at a Prodigy, but then you don't know how their debt is getting out there or where their extensions are getting out there. So I know some of their stuff's made in China, and I've never been a fan of that. I don't think, if you're not in control of your own plastic, I think it's a bad thing. I wouldn't myself want to do that as a business model.
You wouldn't want to put your name on that.
I just don't think I would, and it's nothing against what they're doing in China. It's just there is a difference if you pick up a Latitude disc. There's a difference if you pick up an MVP disc, an Innova disc, a Discraft disc. There just is a difference in that quality and the craftsmanship of that particular product. And when someone's a contracted manufacturer, it's about numbers, right? And there isn't that same sort of value and love necessarily in making sure that quality control, the QC, is the standards it should be. So there it is. I've said that. But I think there's going to be a shift in a lot of things this year. I think companies that are on the peripheral, let's say Mint, let's say ThoughtSpace, let's say
some of the smaller brands, right?
Some of the smaller brands.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see some potential hurt more in that than you will in your top brands.
It's the harsh part about the competition is these big brands are trying to soak up all of the smaller brands. I mean, they're definitely fighting each other at the end of the day, but the little guy loses out.
There's only so many pennies in the jar, and in disc golf with a number of players out there. So who's getting those dollars? And that's where marketing and creativity and having players representing your brand and achieving things during the year that keep the brand on sort of the you go into a store like this, and you're thinking about, hey, I just saw Ricky throw the General perfect for 4 days. I'm getting a General, okay? That's how it works. And same with AB and the Luna. I don't know how Lunas even stay in here for a week, because everyone thinks they can buy a Luna and throw like AB, and it's good to think that.
But it fills a slot in their bag at the end of the day, right?
Sure.
So they might not be able to throw it 450, but shoot, this thing does work pretty good for what I'm using it for.
Yeah, it's a great disc. It's a point and shoot disc.
Well, putting, throwing, it's great to have a putter that does both.
Yes, and you know better than I. But from a business perspective, I think these are important things to put on sort of the to-do list for us to talk about, because it's the reality is, I think by the end of the year, I think we're going to see a shift. I think we're going to see a shift in maybe the way House of Disc looks, and I think we're going to see a shift in some of the peripheral companies that are trying to sell discs and stay alive.
I mean, a lot of disc golf is, sorry to cut you off, but a lot of disc golf is on hard times right now. The amount of stores that have been closing. We had a store here in Phoenix close. We only had 3 of them.
Yeah.
One closed down. That's wild.
Yeah. So,
it's hard times for disc golf companies right now. The fact that we've plateaued, all the COVID buyers have been buying discs for the last 2 years. They don't really need more discs. People are still playing disc golf, but they've got 500 discs in their closet. What do they do with them? Well, I'm going to start throwing these things and figure out where my game's at and figure out what I like. They've got them all now.
Yes. So new players are always the healthiest option.
Yep, right. To drive
for sure, 100%.
The business of it.
But I think that's where the used bin is always fun, because if you cycle through those 500 discs you're talking about and you put them in the used bin, get them into someone else's hands if they're not doing what you think, or you just are a collector and you're just keeping them until you can't throw them, which is me. I have a hard time giving up discs because I just think everything about them is awesome. So there's always a story behind discs, but
yeah. We're at a really strange, or it's at a really cool time of disc golf. It's cool to be a disc golfer right now because we're still at the ground level, despite how big the sport has gotten, despite all the growth that a lot of people never saw coming. Disc golf is at an amazing stage right now, and the future is very bright. I know some of these manufacturers are experiencing tough times, but we're on an upswing. I think more people are starting to discover the sport. We've got really good representatives in the sport right now leading the way. Disc golf's great, and we're just going to keep pushing it and keep working for the sport here.
Look, I don't disagree. Disc golf, and this is someone that's played for 40 years PGA stuff. Disc golf has everything going for it. We've talked about pulling it out of the woods a little bit because you have to have that aesthetic for people that can see it.
More eyes
and understand
on it,
where the disc is flying and why it's flying this way and the shots that they're shaping.
How impressive it is.
It can't be a Nevin week in and week out. It just can't.
Yeah.
And expect the sport to grow from a visual standpoint. It's going to be too grassroots. You've got to get it out of there a little bit so that people can really sit down, observe, and appreciate someone throwing 600 feet and what that sounds like, what that looks like, and the accuracy of it. So, all of the things are in place, I think, for this sport to continue to gain traction and get what it's deserved. The technology that's in these discs now is the reason, is the catalyst. And then the tech disc and what that technology is doing.
Yep, that's the future training tool right there.
Is telling you, just like a golf swing, you go into a simulator and you see exactly what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. Is your face opening up at impact? Is it closing at impact? Is your arm too hyzer, too anhyzer? Are you not getting enough spin on it? Are you whatever? So the tech disc is giving you that same data, and to me, that's what's going to accelerate people's enjoyment of the sport, is that they're going to get discs in their hand because the data is telling them the better disc to throw because their arm speed's only 50 or 55 miles an hour. Don't throw anything over a 9 speed. If you have an arm that isn't over 55 miles an hour, don't throw anything over 9 speed. You can. That's the great thing about freedom. But at the same time, why? Why are you doing that? There's plenty of discs in the 7, 8, and 9 range that are going to work better.
Truly benefit from.
Work better for you, right?
Yes, correct.
I mean, it's cool to have a Wraith, and it's cool to have a Destroyer, and it's cool to have a time lapse. But at the end of the day, if your arm isn't over 60 miles an hour, that disc really isn't going to perform in the way it's designed to perform. So it's good to bring yourself back into reality, I think.
Check the ego. We all want to throw the 12 speeds, the bosses.
You're going to have way more fun. You're going to have way more fun. I'm telling you, you're going to have way more fun throwing discs. And when you're throwing discs that are at your arm speed, that are designed for your arm speed max, right?
Correct. Yes.
You're going to get the most out of that disc.
I will say,
River is a great 7-speed.
Perfect.
Valkyrie, great.
Yes.
Great disc. If you can max that disc out at 300 or 350, then maybe the 8-speed, 9-speed, 10-speed is starting to look better.
Sure.
But if you can't, why are you throwing anything over that speed?
Well, I'll tell you, the nose angle is probably the most important data set. Everybody really puts a lot of pressure on the arm speed, but that nose angle, if you can get it down, you're punching the disc forward. Because my arm is relatively slow. I had no idea how slow my arm was up until I started throwing into the tech disc.
But your nose is down.
But my nose is perfect. I had -4 nose, 8-degree launch. And that's why I'm getting that full flight of 450 feet in the air.
Yep, and I'm a +4 typically.
Yeah, most people are throwing the nose up and then throwing the disc down. to kind of account for, to keep the disc up in the air.
I'm kind of got that bounce still in me, and that creates that lift.
Well, it has to be the hardest habit to break is that nose angle. To get that nose down is such a weird thing in your wrist and your arm movement.
It's the nicotine of the sport.
Yeah,
it's really hard
tough to break.
Hard to get it out of there.
For sure, that's a great analogy.
Actually. Oh, not really, but it's true because nose angle is everything. The tech disc has taught us that in the last couple of months.
Yep.
That if your nose angle is low and that angle is you're coming up, but you're releasing it with that nose angle down, and it's not catching wind underneath; it's catching wind on the top. Oof, that is a big difference. So
you're punching it forward instead of up.
So it's important to look at the tech disc analytics because that's going to help accelerate your learning curve times 10, probably, because you can do anything you want in the field. And believe me, I spent a lot of time in the field, right? You know this.
Hours and hours and hours.
I learned more in a 30-minute session or a 15-minute session with tech disc than I would with a month of field work. It's that dramatic.
Absolutely. Well, it helped me figure out what I was doing right. I thought I was throwing the disc hard. Not really. It's just the angles were good.
Yeah, for sure. So we got Green Mountain coming up.
Yep, Green Mountain next weekend, not this weekend, depending on when this episode comes out.
USDGC.
We're going to be there.
We're going to be there.
We're going to be there for any listeners that want to meet up and hang out.
We're going to be walking around, cheering on the guys, cheering on Ricky.
Talking a lot of trash.
Yep.
Anybody in the vicinity.
So if anything's going on and we're considered, I guess, a part of the disc golf community, podcast community, we're going to be out there. If you guys are throwing discs somewhere, please let us know because we'll come meet you guys. But we're going to head out on Wednesday. And
we'll challenge anybody to a doubles match.
All right, there you go, Foundation. Yeah, and I get a handicap too.
Your best two versus our best two, which is us.
Wow.
Ricky doesn't count because he's playing the tournament.
Right. Dang, really?
Of course not.
That would have been a good slide in.
What, you and Rick, and then I can just film you?
You think I'm coming and then Rick shows up? That'd been perfect. All right, so
today's a doubles match, right?
But we'll talk to you before. We're going to do another podcast before October 10th.
Yeah.
But I think that was good. I think it's a good catch up.
Yeah.
Right? So let's go walk through some discs.
Yeah, that's right. We got to show some highlights because, of course, we usually do disc highlights, and we've missed the last 4 weeks. So it's time for us to show you what's the latest and greatest and new stuff in the store.
All right, and there's some cool stuff, so stay tuned. All right, cool. Let's do it.
39.
39. All right.